Today we're going to divide polynomials, and there's two different types. We're going to do one dividing by a monomial, and we're also going to be dividing by a binomial. So to divide by a monomial, I want to start with just an idea with fractions. Remember, if you have something like 2/3 plus 5/3, since the denominators are the same, and you all know you can add those and say 2 plus 5 is 7, so you get 7/3. So we're adding 2 plus 5 over 3. So we can combine fractions that way when we're adding and we have a common denominator. Well, it's also true if you go the reverse direction. So suppose I have 4 plus 5 over 7. Well, I can also split that apart and say that that's equal to 4/7 plus 5/7. And you probably can all see why that's true, and you might wonder, well, why would I want to do that? Well, we're going to use that idea to divide divide a monomial. So if I have 5a squared b minus 15ab cubed plus 10a cubed b to the fourth, and I'm dividing all of that by 5ab. Well, notice I have the common denominator in the bottom, or in the denominator, so I'm going to split this apart and say this is 5a squared b over 5ab minus 15ab cubed over 5ab plus 10a cubed b to the fourth over 5ab. So our strategy is going to be to split apart the fraction and then simplify. Because now it becomes a problem like we did earlier. So we're going to look for ways that we can simplify. Well, I can see here the 5 is reduced to 1. A squared divided by a, you can use the exponent rules and subtract the exponents, or you can think about how this a cancels with one of these. These b's cancel and reduce to 1. So if you take a look at what you have left here, you just have an a, or an a over 1, but I don't need to put the 1 in the denominator. Then for the next part, the 5 goes into 5 once, 5 goes into 15 3 times, so I'm just reducing that fraction. The a's will reduce to 1. This b will cancel with one of those and leaves b squared in the numerator. So I'll have minus 3b squared. And notice the denominator is just 1. Plus, over here, 5 goes into 5 once, 5 goes into 10 twice. This a cancels with one of these and leaves 2. This b cancels with one of these and leaves 3. So I'm left with 2a squared b to the third power. So when you are dividing, and in this case I have a trinomial divided by a monomial, anytime I'm dividing by a monomial, my strategy is to split it apart and then simplify. Before we go on to the next type of division, I want to review with you just regular old long division, something you probably hoped you'd never see again. But the steps of long division we need to know because we're going to make use of them to divide by a binomial. So remember, the very first thing you do was you divide. So over here on the problem I'm going to work, I'm going to, I need to know how many times does 23 go into 47. And you'll get that it's 2 times. So that was the first step, divide. The next step is to multiply. So I'm going to multiply 2 times 23. And when I do, I get 46. So that was the second step. The third step is to subtract. 47 minus 46 is 1. The next step is to bring down, so I bring down a 1. And then, remember, we come back up and we repeat the process. So I would divide. 23 goes into 11 0 times. Then next I would multiply. 0 times 23 is 0. Next I would subtract. 11 minus 0 is 11. Next I bring down. And I go back up to the top and I divide. 23 goes into 114, almost 5, but not quite. 4 times. And when I multiply, I get 92. I subtract. Again, I'm just following down here in the order. I get 22, and there's nothing left to bring down. So this is my remainder. And one of the ways we had to write a remainder was to take the remainder and create a fraction. We were dividing by 23, so I get an answer of 204 and 22 23rds. So that was the process for long division. Okay, same process, different problem. I'm dividing this time by x minus 5. So that's going to go on the outside. And I'm dividing x minus 5 into x squared minus 2x minus 15. Now, we're going to use the same steps. So the first thing is to divide. So I asked myself, what do I multiply x by to get x squared? Well, you're going to multiply by x. So that was the first step. Now, usually I find it easier to ask myself, what do I multiply this x by to get x squared? I usually find that easier than asking how many times does x go into x squared. So now the next step is to multiply. X times x is x squared. Now I also have to multiply the x times the minus 5. X times minus 5 is minus 5x. So that was the second step. The third step is to subtract. And what I do instead of subtracting, well, you have to subtract both parts. So I'm going to change the signs to the opposite, and then that way then I can just add them. So I get these drop out. Negative 2x plus 5x is 3x. And then I go to the next step, which is to bring down a minus 15. And then I come back up to the first step, which is to divide. So what do I multiply x by to get 3x? 3. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. And instead of subtracting, I change them to the opposite and I add. And when I do, they drop out and I get 0. This is the remainder, so I have a remainder of 0. So my answer is x plus 3. Now I can check my answer, because if I multiply x minus 5 times x plus 3, I can put that in a box. X minus 5 times x plus 3, and we get x squared minus 5x plus 3x minus 15. And when I combine the like terms, I get x squared minus 2x minus 15. We'll look at our original problem that we were, we had x squared minus 2x minus 15 was our dividend, and that's what we got here as our answer. So we can check our answer. We know we're right.